Hello, namaskar, good afternoon. It's about 5:15 a.m. now. It's me, Rajesh. I'm up at Sun Road, Bel-Air, Lilendal, and North Sophia. And this afternoon I'm going to talk about death. Oftentimes, death has been described as something desolate, as something repulsive, that people tends to avoid and don't like. Even as a child growing up, I've always wondered dreadfully about death. I think this has led Ramana Maharishi, the great South Indian sage, to become so absorbed in the thought of death that he became death. He became dead himself. And only by resurrecting, after a while his prana, his breathing was restored, did he come back to life. And after that, he just left home and went to meditate in one of these South Indian temples until he became the Maharishi. And now, that has been a subject that I didn't really investigate much, after feeling happiness and bliss most of the time in my life. I ever wanted to study death, that lonely, that dark episode, that desolateness surrounded by cries and sorrow and farewells and goodbyes. I like more the joy of life, that things goes happily always from day to day, and you depart positively, wonderfully. Like Swami Sivananda, when he was ready to die, he calculated the exact time that he wanted to die, the zodiac, the stars, the constellations. Then he sat down on his couch, his caban. People came and shook his hand. They brought flowers. He said goodbye, hello, smile and cheer, and then he entered into samadhi. It is said that the yogis, that they can take the mind or the prana or something, they withdraw it and take it to the Brahmandra. Some hole there is at the top of the head, the Brahmandra, and by entering to that point, that vacuum, that spacelessness, they can leave the body. Many yogis, they say, die this way. There's even a Japanese Zen master. He told his students, look, I'm going to die in 7 days from now. The student laughed because, spiritual people are very jovial people. They're humorous. I thought he was making jokes. So after 7 days, he called him to the hall, the meditation hall. He sat down in the Padmasana, the lotus posture. And he made one shout and left his body. And then his students realized he was serious all the time. So it's like that some people have mastery over death also. That they can laugh at death. The death holds no sting. It has no power over them, And I've collected some points I'd like to talk about, Today there are people who can trace departed souls. When people die, they have ghost box. They can go into seances. They can go like midnight and they have a medium with them and they call the spirit, and the spirit come and sit in an empty chair or sit or talk to them or manifest, and they can do all of these things. This how far human discovery and exploration in the psychic realm and spiritual realm have gone to. That has always been a fascinating subject. Nobody know what it is. There are stories we hear from teachers. They tell about that. There are the near-death experiences, people who have died and they came back and told what they saw and what they experienced, but nobody knows if it's true. So some people have had dreams with people who've passed away. Some people have seen apparitions in their yards, in their houses. And this is all tell people that there's something mysterious about life. There is a chapter that is unknown, that you can't figure out. There are so many stories. If you read all the stories around the world with people experiencing mysterious entities, light bodies and floating apparitions that they can't explain. And I will share with you a few of what I've heard and what I've learned so far. But what I can say is that as a practitioner or a believer of the Eastern tradition, I was born within an Eastern mystical environment, Hindu culture, and so on. For what I've heard is that you're not finished with after you die. After you die, something lives on, something continues, you know. For example, Yogananda Paramahansa, when he was a little boy meditating, he remembered, he had flashes and thoughts of himself as a yogi in the Himalayas meditating. So people have had these memories of another life before, and these have been documented in many cases, like the case with Brady Murphy, the case with Shanti Dev, with people who have remembered a past life. So it does seem that when you die, things aren't finished there, you know. And I guess most of these rituals that they do in these death ceremonies and these pujas and these shraddhas, what they do is to usher the soul, protect the soul, the mantras, and usher it and take it along into the higher regions. There's even saying that sometimes when the soul lingers around, there are other dark entities that strive to grab it and pull it down into the lower regions. Who knows? I don't know. But there's a priest who wrote an interesting book. He said that when he died, he saw his own funeral, and he was there. Nobody couldn't see him looking at his own funeral. So we have these stories that have been written by mediums who contacted these souls, and they tell awesome stories about another side. If you read the Garud Puran, it tells about the Vyatarani river you have to cross. A boatman takes you over the river. And I've read a Zen master talking this story from a Dutch Zen master from Holland. He's told the story of a Narad Muni who was chanting the name of Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And then the boat one day the boatman was traveling in his boat, and he saw a corpse floating all over in the water, many corpses. And when he looked at the face and looked of them, each of them was a Narad Muni. Only he was left chanting the name of Narayan. So we don't know about the mystery of death, why it happens or how it happens, you know. We've heard a story about Jesus the Christ, the great Messiah from Israel. He was reputed to have brought back people to life. There are some mystics and saints who have reached enviable levels of achievement in spirituality, and they were able, as the stories go, to wake people and revive them back from death, you know. I don't know how these experiences or stories are true, because I've never experienced it as yet. But there are a story of people who have had encounters with death, like the master mystic. Her book is written by Nitya Menon. Her disciples were crying and crying when she passed away, and she got her back from, they cover her with a blanket, and she got to walk and talk to them, and then she reassured them and console them, and then she lied down, pulled the blanket over herself, and she went off back again. There's not the story of Swami Rama when Bengali Baba died and told him to cremate his body, and Swami Rama started to holler and cry and shouting, missed his master so much. And then the master came back to him and talked to him, revived back from the body and talked to him. So there are some people whose body has no disease and not been touched by death or corruption or any negative energy, and they are able to return back to life and to comfort and console their close ones. But this is not the case with everybody. Not all of us has this capacity. It talks about a degree of self-mastery, of achievement, in meditation, in spiritual practices. And most of those people who have achieved the ability to contact with the disease, they are usually called as mediums or as psychics, or not usually spiritual people. Don't usually are interested in contacting the dead or to communicate with them. You know, they say leave the dead with the dead, or let the dead bury the dead. Somebody asked Jesus Christ, I want to follow you, I want to become like you. Jesus said, sell out everything you have and follow me. But the disciples said, what will become of his parents, his old parents? He said, let the dead bury the dead. So such is the strength and the purpose that some of these mystics have. That death has no fear, no logic, no threat, or no burden for them, you know, when it's time to come. This Swami Sivananda says some yogis, they can self-immolate also. When they die, the body bursts into flame, and the body finish, no problem with the body either. This we can see in the story with Ravan when he approached one of the avatars of Sita, the previous avatar of Sita. As he came close to her and tried to grab her, she becoming engulfed in flame. I think this is called auto-immolation or something like that. Self-immolation, auto-immolation, where your body bursts into flame spontaneously. These phenomena all exist, you know. And there's a story that with named Karoli Baba, that when he was in a particular village, the neighbors had a death in this house. So they say Baba is next door, let's call him over to see about this sick person. He wasn't die actually, he was sick. And he was in a bad condition, so they went for the Baba named Crowley. Baba was staying in the house. So he said, Shallow, let's go and see the dead, you know. So they went over there, and named Crowley Baba asked for a banana. And he started to put piece of the banana in the sick person's mouth, and at the last bite of the banana, passed away. So that was a story of somebody inducing death or helping somebody to leave the body. You know, I heard Dada Tapeshwaran, who gave a lecture on death. He's saying that the body has forces, fine forces or airs, winds in the body called vayus. And at the time of death, these vayus leave the body, and as they leave the body, the person loses their memory. They might lose consciousness and this kind of thing. Well, some say at the time of death, you see your past relative, your uncle, aunt, people coming around you, and then they probably come to take you away. But they said the last force of Vayu that leaves the body is the Dhananjaya, Kantadara Tapeshwara. They say when the body decomposes or finally return back to earth, that force is free, it leaves. So Hindus born the body, so we have the body returns to the 5 elements quickly, and all of the Vayus separate, so the soul is released, spirit is released, and it goes back quickly, and it's ready for another birth. It goes into the afterlife, you know. They say we should all of the belongings of the dead we should give to the Mahapatar. Long ago they had Mahapatar here in Guyana, I think, if I can recall. They would take the dead clothes, the dead belongings. It's not good to keep them. So why death? You know, the body does perishable, it can't last forever. As the mind evolves, the spirit gets lessons in life and it learns. The soul leaves and takes another body that is higher, that is better, that can help it on its journey to moksha, liberation. So I say it's good if you have a master, you know, that he can help you in the afterlife. He comes for you and take you up if you've been following his rules and regulations strictly, you know. For example, in another marg, the Guru said he who meditates twice daily at the time of death, liberation is a sure guarantee. that you will not be reborn or born again. You will get there's the power of your practices throughout your life will force you into a newer body, into the cycle, beyond the cycle of birth and rebirth, the chakra, the wheel of life and death. So you will go beyond samskaras and you'll be free. You probably move in the guru. They say there are so many planes and other worlds that exist. We don't know them all. But Swami Sri Yukteswar told that. He said when you go up, when you die, you go in the soul go in the astral world. And Swami Sri Yukteswar, he took back a physical body and appeared before Yogananda. And he told him all about this. That there are so many relatives you have, you don't know which one to hold and grab. So many mothers, so many fathers you will see who were there before. Your pets, your dogs, your cat come running up to you, you don't know which one. So many crowd around you, so many lives you've lived before, So as the soul evolves, it goes to different planes, different dimensions, different portals, and it operates there as an individual, as a part of that world. It experiences, it suffers, it laughs, it cries, it rejoices. I think somebody told me, they said in a Madrasi culture, when you're born, they cry, and when you die, they celebrate. Why? Probably because when you're born, you have to come in the life of samsara. Probably in the Madrasi world, I don't know, when you're born, there's a lot of suffering also. I don't know the state, the plane they exist or the state of their mind, but when they die, they rejoice, they're happy, they celebrate. So there are some people who have said that death can even be felt in the planet, or death can be felt, you can experience here in this world, in this society. You experience, you can feel, you can see all of these. The people have the Death Valley, for example, in India, where Shushananda Murtiji used to go and meditate, a lonely place. People said that in this valley, nobody go there because they're hearing hissing. And the trees swaying, it makes give it a very dreadful, a very repulsive vibration atmosphere. They have a big neem tree there swaying. Shoshana Murti, people see him, will be walking, going by himself there, going to meditate in that place. Then they have the tiger's grave, where the tiger and a British man fought, and they are buried there. Some people sometimes say that that place is ominous, it's hex, there's spirit and all of these things. I don't know. But Yogananda also talk about so Paramahansa Yogananda talk about one of his disciples who was reborn. When he died, he reborn, and he traced him. He traced the soul, and he found the soul reborn in America. And he went to the family and saw the boy. He had some characteristic of his old self. So even today we have tulkus in Tibetan Lama are still taking birth. People who were advanced lamas in the previous, they reincarnate, and some of the Tibetan monks are able to trace those reincarnated lamas, little children, and so, and help them in their continuing progress, to continue their spiritual progress. So these are tulkus, reincarnate lamas. And the Dalai Lama himself is said to be a reincarnation of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. And when he dies, the people, they find him. When they find him, they will give him, mix up his old belongings with his other things, other assortments of stuff, and they're mixed up. And if he can pick out 10 out of 10 what belongs to him in his previous birth, it confirms that he's a Dalai Lama. So these are all instances that people do not die, or it's not finished there at death, You're not finished at death, is other side. Though I've never experienced it, I don't know what lies on the other side. I never experienced death. I've never had that kind of encounter. There's a story of Markandeya in the Hindu Puran. I think I know if it's in the Puranas, but there's a character in the Hinduism known as Markandeya. He was supposed to die when he entered into his teenage years. And he did penance to Lord Shiva. And when the Yama was coming to take him, the god of death, Yama, Lord Shiva protected him and warded off the god of death, or fight him off. Markandeya, this is an immortal today. He gave the Trayambaka mantra, Om Trayambakam Yajamohi. And they say if you practice this mantra, you can live for long, protects you from death and so on. So there are many people who had this encounter with death, and who are convince people that they don't fear death. Some people don't fear death at all. We have the jihadis in Islam. They give their life for a good cause because they believe there's an afterlife, that they will not die. There are some people who takes death by choice, when the time finish, they give up the body and they die. I just spoke about this, but some saints also, going to meditation on the water, let the water cover them. It's called Jal Samadhi, and they die by drowning. Jal Samadhi. There's a story with another story I talk about. Who took Jal Samadhi, by the way? People like Dhaneshwar Maharaj took Jal Samadhi. Can't remember anybody else. There are a few of them. And there's Raghavendra Swami, the story of Raghavendra Swami. People still see him coming out of his tomb. He's buried in a tomb there. And people sometimes see him outside the tomb sometimes. So that is not the final story, Today they have in this modern time, that is story from another Mavidada Karunanan. He was supposed to die at a certain point in his youth. I think it was 18 or 19 years. And Baba told him, meditate on that day, the whole day. This is an Acharya and an Amarga of Dutta Karunanan who told his story that he was supposed to die. So when the time came for him to die, he did as his guru told him. He sat down and he meditated. And then he heard a hissing. He opened his eyes, he saw a snake crawl, and then the snake crawled away. So after that day when he was supposed to die, he didn't die. He's still alive. He still continued to live. So there are many people who cried and they weep about death, They cried about death. They tried to find out what is this death about. They tried to do mystical practice to enter the death state, to go back after life to find out what is there. This in Chinese Tantricism. The Tantrics, they kill the disciple, and the disciple can go into the afterlife and bring back knowledge, because they will revive the disciple afterwards. See, we'll have precious knowledge about death and so on. So they say there are stories in Tibet that say that the lamas, when these fresh corpse they have to get, they can go and blow a mantra into the corpse's mouth. They will come back to life. But if they don't catch the corpse and repeat another mantra, it will continue walking around the village like a zombie. People will be running and hollering and shouting around. So lamas have to catch him and blow another mantra back in his mouth, and the corpse will become lifeless. So there's another story I'd like to share with you about dying. There's one lady whose son died during the time of Buddha, when he was alive. So she went to the Buddha, being an enlightened master. She asked him if he could do something for her son. The Buddha said, go to a house and ask for salt. And if you can bring me salt from a house that has not had a death, then I will use that salt and bring back your son to life. Well, she went to all to the house and she's asking for some salt. She asked them if anybody ever died here. The people said yes, somebody died here already. She went to all everywhere and yes, somebody died. So she had to go back and told the Buddha that she couldn't find salt from a house where somebody hadn't died. So Buddha told her, he said there's nobody in the world whose family have not experienced death. That death is a part of life. If you're born, you have to die. The body has to go. Despite there are stories of immortals and that are still alive and so on. These are special yogic processes, special mystical practices that people do to keep the body young, like Kaya Kalpa. They do this to rejuvenate the body through Kaya Kalpa Siddhi. I heard a story told about a yogi who was meditating in the forest, and somebody went to visit him and he was meditating. Then from his belly burst open and a little boy came out, and he continued to live again. That was one form of Kaya Kalpa. Some people use herbs, rasanas, to keep the body so that they can get enlightenment in one lifetime rather than going through the whole process of growing up and taking another birth and getting reinitiated and going through them works. They just keep the body. But these are secret practices and so that are known by advanced mystics and so. Other schools have been trying to resurrect the dead. They've been experimenting, doing all kind of experiment to communicate with the dead to find out what lies on the other side, if they can bring back. And some of these experiments go haywire and leads to problem, possession, hauntings, and that bad reaction. So some cultures have been able to master it and they carve it in a smooth and systematic way that you can learn and follow. But the death is a part of life. Even Buddha himself, he didn't know about life and death. His father keep him protected from all these things when he's a little child. It was one day when he was out, he become an adult, he went out to the palace for a drive, and he see somebody there who was old. He said, "Who is this?" He said, "Old age. Everybody Buddha asked, Siddhartha asked, will I become old also?" Chana, his driver, told him, "Yes, this body will not last forever. One day the youth will go, you will become just like that old age." Then they drive on, the chariot drive on. And then they saw a sick man. He said, "What is happening to this man? Why is he like that, crying and groaning?" Chana said, "A man is sick. His body has become infested with germs, disease, bacteria, and so on." So Buddha said, "Will I become like that?" He said, "Everybody gets sick." He started to think, he started worrying. Then he saw a sage meditating at the side of the road, a yogi. So who is this man? He said, "That's a yogi, a rishi, a sage, sadhu." He said, "Why is his face so bright and he's so peaceful, and his complexion, his aura, the radiance?" He said, "That man knows peace because he's renounced life, he's renounced the world, and he's finding inner peace." So Buddha started thinking in his mind that he too has to become like that. After he saw one of the incidents, I forgot to mention, he saw some man being carried on a stretcher. And Buddha asked, "What is that?" He said, "That's death." Chana told him, "That's death." That was before he saw the rishi. So everybody has to die. You couldn't escape it. That's why he left home after he saw that all this will happen to him. He wanted to find a way how to escape it, how to get past it. Disease, death, sickness, old age. And he found it. Some people, they say when you die, you enter into Mahasamadhi. Some people say Parinirvana. Some people say like Baba entered into Mahaprayan. These great souls willfully they enter into this trance state and they leave the body. There's a very good way if all of us can be taught how to do that. That's why many people learn meditation, because they don't want to conquer life alone, they want to conquer death also. So many people learn these kind of things. So death is a part of life. Where there's life, there's death. Unless you study the esoteric traditions and go into those areas where it teaches you eternal youth, a body free from disease, a diamond body. They have these practices in South India. The body don't get sick, no germs can penetrate, no germs can infect, and that's a state. And the yogis can give his body up when he wills, when he like. There's a story with a yogi, a swami. He went with his disciples to a river bank, and they went for swim as usual. Every day they go for baths, sometimes there they go and swim. So on this particular day, the swami make a deep plunge into under the water, and they didn't see him resurface back. He never came up back. They searched all under the water everywhere, they couldn't find it. You know what became of him? There are many speculations. Some say he disappeared, he left, he went somewhere by himself to meditate, and some people, nobody know what really happened to him. If there's a wall underneath the waters with the Nagas or whoever living under there, nobody knows. But these are all stories, and lands and spiritual capitals of the world that have those stories can help mankind, can show us a way, can give us direction, can give us wisdom and insight about life. So this much I know about death, and I share with you. So apart from living, we should all try to get mastery of death. If we can learn meditation early in our lives and practice it, we will get a measure of control over death. We'll not be bowled over so much by fear, by pessimism, by betrayal, sense of betrayal, a sense of loss and sorrow. We'll know how to deal with it. I think the Western American woman Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book, Death and Dying. And there are stages that when you're dying, you have to pass through, So these society have already started to address death, the subject of dying, in the wards, in the hospital. They have people who can console you, talk with you, and look at you. There's some culture even facilitate death. The euthanasia, self-euthanasia, if you want to die. You go into a nice apartment, they play nice music, you see nice pictures on the wall, and maybe they will let some smoke in gradually, and you pass away quietly and peacefully. Some people like the samurai, they don't fear death. They can take the life away, and what they call it again, harakiri or something like that. They plunge the knife. If they do some mistake and do some wrong, they take a knife and they plunge it in themselves and kill themselves. Long ago they had a sati, woman whose husband passed away. When they go to burn the woman in the fire, and so they would jump into the fire and die with their husband. But today they stopped that, because the widows, they can remarry now. Longer they don't allow you to remarry. Once your husband dies, you remain single. Now you can remarry, so they don't allow that anymore. Things are changing and so on. Nobody wants to hold on to the old. So that's why we have new gurus coming, updating the system, updating the rules, trying to prevent the sorts of extremism and so on. The Jain yogis, the yogis in the Jain faith, at the time of death, they start to fast and they die through yogic methods. They just leave the body. They know how to control the winds, the value in the body, and they just remove the life forces, can do it properly in a scientific way. So these are all systems we in the Western or these young countries, we need to investigate. So life is a thing that is joyful and enjoyable, that we rejoice, that we partake of abundantly. But we should also know how to handle that. Not much of us is known. It stupefies us. It pounces upon us unexpectedly. We're surprised at any turn it can come, many moments we don't know. So we must learn to know when death will come, when we will die, how to meet death, how to bargain with death, how to work something out so that it goes best for both of us. You know, in some yogic tradition, they say there are signs when you will die. Like you don't see your reflection in the water, you don't see your shadow, you will see bumps coming out on your body, red bumps, red color marks, and so, you know. But when there's a death in a village, it's ominous, you know. People in the village know how to deal with it. Some people, they put swastik marks on the door, on the doorway. Some people, they attend the wakes. Some people, they keep the corpse. I think it's in Indonesia, they keep the corpse, embalm the corpse. Some people, they know how to cope with it in various ways. There are systems in place given by the saints, the yogis, the great mystics, and even science. You have to dispose of the body in a scientific way so that germs, disease, bacteria do not remain on the earth, go into the atmosphere, and affect others. So you have to do it in a hygienic way. Burn the body or have a special area where they will be buried or whatever. Sanitation, all of these things come into play. Cleanliness, godliness. So religion addressed the subject of death, and we have sciences also now doing it, where they have people dealing with patients at the dying stage, talking to them, counseling them, helping them through the psychological momenta that they have to experience or undergo, and so on. Make death more tolerable, more comfortable to be with, you know. So we have to thank the great mind that is the human mind, that is the universal mind, for making life easy for us. Even Krishnamurti, when he was alive, at the end of his discourse, he would say, may everybody see the bright side of life. May no one have the cause to suffer or to feel pain. May we all see the best side. He will bless everybody. Bright side, you want to go any pain on necessarily, or see the dark side. So in the casual society, we have people are trying to cope with all of these harsh realities in life, you know, crime, violence, death, disease, natural disasters, evil and corruption that they call it, imbalances everywhere around us. Groups and minds come together because why? Baba says strength in the dark age, the Kal Yuga age, lies in the collective body. If you form a collective, many hands make light work, you can solve many problems in this way. So even death, we can able to cope as a team and deal with it. Long ago in the villages, people work together in a team and work together unitedly, cooperatively, before the germs of evil, wickedness enter into it. You know, people get corrupted and they lost this unity in the society, this balance, this cooperation, coordination. So there's nothing that can destroy the human soul, the human essence, the I am essence. Nothing can destroy it or ravage it or harm it. The soul is eternal, it lives forever, it goes on until it merges into the final source, the final entity, or the final goal of life. So fear not, death is not the end of the journey. So let's go on to think that as we age, as we get older, we go our ways, whether it's in a higher plane or a lower plane, whether it's a reincarnating in one home or another. We don't know what lies beyond. But it's the enlightened master, he who's enlightened, he's Trikala Gyani. He knows the present, past, and the future. So that's why we should all aspire to meditate and learn more about the unknown and the astral, the spiritual planes, and so on. It will better equip us to handle the harsh realities that sometimes pop up in life. So that's all for now on this topic of death and dying. Namaskar. Have a pleasant Monday.